Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Quality, the podcast. My name is Hamish Alangaratne, and since 2023, I've been interviewing some of the most talented and well-respected quality leaders in the pharma and biotech industry to learn how they got to where they are now. This season is all about our guests and their journeys. Why they got into science, how they got into quality, their biggest challenges and greatest learns, and the highs and lows along the way. Every week, I'll be bringing you a new guest with the purpose of inspiring the next generation of quality leaders. Welcome to Season 3. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Let's Talk Quality, the podcast, Season 3. Today, I am hugely excited to be joined by Maja Pedersen. Maja is the Chief Quality Officer at Fujifilm Diosynth Biotechnologies. She oversees quality and IT across 6 global sites. And for anyone that is interested in learning about leading global teams across multiple geographies, time zones, and cultures, making the shift from tactical to strategic, adopting new technologies, and what quality leaders should be doing now to adapt to the way the industry is using AI and digital, this is the episode for you. So I hope that you enjoy the show. Let's get into it. Good morning, Maja. Welcome to Let's Talk Quality Season 3. I'm very excited. This is going to be the first episode of the season. And what a great guest to have on. So I'm delighted. Thank you for joining us. I've given you a very quick introduction, but if you could give the viewers and listeners just a real high-level overview of who you are and what your role is, that would be great. And then we'll get into it.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Hamish. Good morning, or rather, I think maybe good afternoon here. A super big pleasure to be here. I always know that your questions will make me reflect, so I'm really looking forward to this. My name is Maja Pedersen, and I am a Chief Quality Officer with a wide scope within Fujifilm Diosynth Biotechnologies. Bio-CDMO, so we have the absolute honor to make products for all of the great originators that have great molecules out there. I have, aside from my Chief Quality Officer role, I'm also in charge of IT, digitalization, and our science, and then latest also our operational excellence. So we can dive into why that's such a huge advantage
Absolutely.
for us.
It's exciting. So, right, before we get into all of that then, take us just all the way back to how you originally got into quality assurance as the field that it is.
Yeah, it's one of those fields where you cannot have a master or a bachelor degree that goes straight into that, right? So we almost all of us stumble into it, and I definitely did and absolutely loved it. So what happened for me was when I was straight out of university, I have a Master of Science, and I was coming across a job where I was given the possibility of traveling, training people across from Denmark to Mexico, and was going to roll out TrackWise. It is a few years back. But so TrackWise maybe some of the early days, and just saw the logic of how if we build systems and processes, procedures with people that makes sense and people follow the logic, how big of a difference that made. So that was my stumbling into GMP at the time, I've actually I was just about to say I've not left it ever since, but that's not entirely true. I have been in quality regulatory throughout most of my career, but I had the pleasure of for 3 years having the external network responsibility also. So I have a mix in my background, but most of it has been quality and regulatory.
Yeah. What was it about when you first got into quality? What was it that you enjoyed and about the function in the role?
It's funny because I'm as a person, I'm not the most structured. I'm if you were to ask me what do I do the least, it is following a process. So
Okay.
I think as a personality wise, it's a special thing that I fell in love with this area. But I really did. I think for me, having structure and processes around me helps me be the free spirit and make some pragmatic decisions that just makes super business sense. So it really was an epiphany for me when I started nerding a little bit around and building logics in systems and training people, seeing how logic and freedom within that logic just makes people perform their very best. So I think that it's a little bit of for me an inherent contradiction that I fell in love with this, but somehow I really did, and I do see, of course, the beauty of a quality system and processes that are really working, and how that makes safe, efficacious medicine every
Mm.
time so that we can supply patients is also really deeply
Yeah.
ingrained in me. So I see the need for it. I see what it does, and at the same time, it lets me and then also others be their free spirits and do their very best within a framework. So I think that uh, that was why I fell in love with this area.
And taking it even back further, often people's beliefs and purposes are sort of installed from a very young age, and the childhood and your early upbringing is. Talk me through just very quickly, like where you grew up and what was your sort of early years like, and did did your early sort of upbringing contribute to the direction, your career direction that you wanted to take?
Yeah, it's I do think it did, and having reflected on it in my later years, I've always been really fascinated by helping. In the beginning, and still actually, it was more directed towards animals. So I had a
Okay.
heartfelt dream of becoming a vet, and just be this helper to animals. And then I was fortunate enough that I got an internship at a vet, and I got to see a little bit, and that taught me that that's not for me. It's
Right.
just it's too rough, and you also have another side to that coin, that I wasn't prepared to actually take on. So that opened my eyes to the pharmacy world, the cell biology, and I got super curious about how can we then, via science, actually do something that will help human and maybe also animals, but just in a slightly different way. So yeah, I think my early years with having this big heart beating
Yeah.
for the animals, I actually think that was a
Yeah.
direction. Yeah.
How it started. Yeah. And whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up in Denmark. The first part of my life, the first 10 years, I lived in the capital of Denmark, Copenhagen. And
Yeah.
then we moved to the complete opposite end of Denmark at the time, which was a super interest. For some, it's a difficult shift because it's two different,
Hmm.
almost subcultures. For me, it actually was a really good experience, and just taught me to see another side of the Danish way of living.
Yeah.
So, and then I moved back again to the Copenhagen area when I started on university. So I've had the luxury of really moving around the country, seeing a lot of different people.
Right, absolutely. So then moving into your, I guess, your early leadership career in quality. When was your first quality? Look back and think, right, this is my sort of first real leadership experience in quality assurance, managing people, leading people, and creating teams. When
Yeah.
when was that, and how did that sort of evolve?
It was the very first position, the one where I was traveling to Mexico doing
Right.
the implementation of TrackWise. I did build at the time. It was in 2004. So
2004.
as you can see, I've started very very early, of course.
Yeah.
But and at that time, it was early days for in the medical device industry, which was where I started. It was early days of the 13485
Mm.
regulation. So we were building the regulatory knowledge and know-how. So I got a few of the people that were already hired taught me a lot about GMP. And then I was fortunate to identify a few others from external that came in and just did an amazing job establishing complaint processes, helping with the risk assessment setup for the TrackWise system, and really getting those early days of data integrity under our skin. So that was really interesting. Just
Yeah.
me exploring, being curious, and then finding logic to it all, forming that first little team that I think at the time we were maybe around six people, if I remember correctly. And from then on, I was asked if I could, in another company, take over actually a quality assurance department of roughly 30 that had been through a period of time where they really needed leadership. And so they were super super skilled individuals, but they needed a little bit of a direction, and they needed to be knitted together was a little bit the task. So I jumped on
Yeah.
that. That was, I think, 3.5 years after I had started in my first position. So actually, from the very first, it's been somehow just me flying into leadership positions early on.
Was there something that you obviously went very early into leadership positions? Why was that the path that you did? Did you always know that that was the path that you wanted to take in terms of leading teams and leading people, or did because someone must have seen something in you to give you that opportunity at such an early stage in your career?
Yeah, for sure. I'm one of those that's never been. I'm not been sitting making my business plan and really thinking this is what I need and want to do. And actually, if I take you right back to where I chose to go for the position where I was traveling to Mexico,
Hmm.
I was also given the opportunity to go ahead with my master's and do a PhD. And I was sort of torn. It's one of those defining moments for me where I knew I'm taking a choice now that will take me either in a generalistic sort of direction or in a more specialized and both were for me attractive possibilities. Going into the position where I got the opportunity to lead and travel, I think because during my study at university, I was fortunate to have a job at the same time where I was writing scientific articles.
Right.
And in that group, I was also given the possibility of leading a little bit, setting the coordinating, and I actually found that to be also rewarding. So maybe a little voice in my head at that time was like, I can probably make a bigger difference if I go in and lead areas rather than going and nerd in an area. So I think by not that I've been conscious about it,
Yeah.
but I do think it may have been planted, seeded at that
Yeah, from
time.
that sort of age. So
Yeah.
yeah, so then okay, so then talk us through the next stage of your career. So sort of 2006, seven onwards. How did those early, or how did that sort of stage of your career evolve? I imagine you've gone from sort of managing smaller teams into bigger teams of 30 plus people. And was this and which companies were you at? Talk us, just paint a picture of that sort of period.
Yeah. So you're completely right. I went from this smaller place with a small, really, really nice team, building it all up from the ground in with what was at that time called Unomedical, making infusion devices for diabetic pumps. Super exciting space to be in, and then into the bigger scale leadership with 30 people with Cook Medical,
Mhm.
where I didn't build it. The team was there. And
Yeah.
so taking a team, forming that, and taking it into a direction to very different dynamics.
Yeah.
And also for me at the time, I was still really, really early in my career and still really learning 13485, different classifications of medical devices. How do I gain the most knowledge together with the team in order to make these systems so pragmatic that
Mm.
it's that we can work in them and at the same time drive towards that goal that we all have
Yeah.
of making efficient medical devices was at the time. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I remember as extremely strong advice I got during those times was to be part of groups that would maybe revise the ISO standards.
Okay.
Cook Medical was really good at leaving space for that, going into to work where we together interpret and reword and figure out how are the directives and ISO standards really helping us. So I did that, and I did actually spend quite some time on it also with certain members of my team.
And was it Cook Medical where you inherited this team of 30 or
Yes,
so people?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's an interesting one when, like you say, completely different dynamic, building a team from scratch versus inheriting a larger team. What are the challenges that you faced in that time where you're going into all of a sudden you're managing a group of 30 people that don't know you,
yeah.
inheriting it? You've got no kind of relationships with these people, or you might not have many strong relationships. What are the challenges that you face in that scenario, and how do you? What advice would you give to other people that are going into a team to inherit that sort of type of team?
Yeah, it's the big thing is to really understand before you try to be understood. Because
Okay.
if you go into a group of people, they don't know you. They probably have some. I know I would have some picture of okay, who's coming in now, what's going to happen. I think it is immensely important to be a human being in that setting and really understand what is the dynamic that I'm coming into, what's difficult, and what really drives individuals in the team, so we can start to create that journey together, so everyone can see themselves and really be the best version of themselves. So I think
Yeah.
I probably, if I had gotten this advice, so when I was hired, actually, the gentleman that hired me, he gave me one of the advices that I've been taking with me, and that was, and he wasn't a quality professional, but he said he had been in that company for many years, and he had learned, okay, where are some of the things that are static, that if you try to move them you will probably hit your head on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What things can we move on? And so his advice to me was actually, you have to see it, you have to play it, you will sometimes run into that, and your head will hurt, but do it gently, because you come in as a new person and you really want people to see that you want to be understood, before you try to, or you want to understand them before you try to be understood. And
Yeah.
so I took that to me. I tried to do it, but of course, at the time, I was also eager. So I'm sure if I was to go back and ask, so how was it? I will have succeeded with some, and then some will be like, "Ah, maybe you came in a little fast,"
Yeah. Would
but
they be typically the mistakes that you think people is the they're the easiest mistake to make, is trying to do too much, make too many changes too quickly?
yes, exactly. And I actually think there is a, you can say, a direct line to the way I think about the quality area overall. I do think in quality management traditionally, we can have a tendency to build something that we think will help, a rigor structure, a process that's, oh, can you see this great process? But if we had taken the time to really listen to the business, we could have probably made a more pragmatic process that was
Yeah.
driving and a whole other compliance and efficiency at the same time. So I do see the two areas relating to people, being that individual that is curious. I think if we can apply that and at all times also in our quality thinking, I think we will.
Yeah.
I think we will do things even better.
How do you go about winning hearts and minds in that scenario? Like like in terms of the relationships with your people, when you don't have those existing relationships, and people might be a bit sort of hesitant because there's obviously changes going on. There might be some instability. There might be some, processes that, whatever the situation. I suppose winning hearts and minds and trust is important in those first 3 months. What are some of the practical things that you think, looking back, that you did well in that
Mhm.
time to establish trust?
Yeah, I think what I do well, and I'm still doing it, is just being me. It's important for me that people know who am I as a person. So it's not interesting for anyone to hear what I've done,
Yeah.
what career I've had. What's really, really interesting for people to hear is, where do I live? What gives me energy? What do I do? Where do I also look stupid? What are the different just traits to me being a human
Mm.
being? And then add on with the whole. So I've been participating in the Udra Lex, and I've been doing it.
Yeah.
So those things are of course important, but it's not what gives people that sense of belonging and
Yeah.
relationship. So I'm
Yeah.
really big on, when I present myself, it's as a human being, not as a professional.
Yeah.
And that is my advice to anyone. And of course, everyone is different. So you should only do it if you can be calm about it, authentic about it, because otherwise it also comes across like you're trying to make an image of you being you, but you're not really comfortable,
Yeah.
and then you shouldn't do it. Then you have to take another angle. So those two things, I would say, be, if you can, present yourself as a human being, but do it only if you feel comfortable, because that's where you really relate to people. And then you'd be surprised how many amazing stories you get from the
Yeah.
people that you meet. That just opens up this universe of who am I actually speaking to?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's getting people to understand who you really are, your real, true, authentic self.
Yeah,
And then once that element of trust and understanding has been established, then it's adding in the credibility of what you've achieved over the years, what your technical ability is, what your skills are, and how you can add value to their careers, I suppose, in the organization.
yeah. And
But
then actually, if I can add on, because when you've then established that, I found that openness about what are the challenges, what's coming next, and how can we lean in together and co-create.
mm,
So just be very, very open and transparent about what's difficult. That tends to also really knit people together and form those relations. And I've found that the most brilliant ideas come when we are in a mess, and we are open about it, rather than if one person is trying to solve something over here. It is really, and that's one of the things, that of the many things that I really enjoy by being in a job like this.
Yeah, very good. So your role at Cook Medical, were you? What was your sort of level? I know levels differ from different organisations, but you were what, a sort of a director, vice president, or at what
That's a
stage
good
you were the man?
question. I actually forget
Can't
myself.
remember.
Yeah, no, I think I reported to a director, senior director individual that was sitting on the site leadership team.
Fine.
So I was probably, I would think, a senior manager,
Yeah. Fine.
if I remember correctly. So that was also my first encounter to, because of the quality system piece of it. I got the opportunity to, together with my the quality team, to really speak to all functions, and driving quality management reviews, which gives you that exposure to the full business. So I think at that time, I really came to
Yeah.
appreciate what a big gift it is to really see that bigger picture, and then form the systems and processes together
Yeah.
with the people by doing that.
Well, let's talk a bit about that then, because I think we spoke about it before, but something that I'm always talking about with a group of mentees who are all that director level individuals or managers, directors, but it's going from that shift from thinking tactically to a more strategic role, which generally happens as you go into bigger roles where you're leading teams, but also you've got directors underneath you and you've got to think bigger picture. And that's a challenging shift in mindset.
It is, and
Um,
it's a really really important. So the way that you express it, it's important to know that it is a shift, right? That because typically you've come to a point in your career by being really good at the
yeah.
tactics, at the execution, together with a small team, and then suddenly you find yourself in a role where what you were really good at is what got you there, but it's not no longer what you need to be doing in that new shift. So I think
Mm,
being aware of it, respecting that it's a new skill set you have, it's a new muscle that you have to exercise, is, I
yeah.
think, really really important shift.
When do you remember? Can you? Are there any moments looking back into your career at that sort of time that you remember having to make that transition and going into thinking bigger picture?
Yeah, I do remember actually. It was so when I had been with Cook Medical for some years, I took a possibility of exploring the pharmaceutical industry. So in 2011, I was fortunate enough to get into a senior manager position with Biogen at the time.
Mhm.
So really getting my GMP knowledge stirred up into what is it in the pharmaceutical area. And with Biogen, after a few years, I had the opportunity to be the site head of the quality organization for a pretty big site located in Hillerød in the northern Copenhagen area. And that shift, that's where I remember, okay, now I'm so one thing is my quality hat, that I'm into this team with my quality hat, but I'm also part of this site leadership team that needs to drive a whole other agenda together, and how to navigate being a specialist with super super specialist leaders in on my team as a quality leader, but at the same time being this important part of a peer team that was doing site leadership. That's, I
Mm,
think, the first real time when I needed to snap out of my little nerdy area where I knew the ins and outs,
yeah.
and into something that was bigger. Very,
Yeah.
very interesting. I think for me at least, at that time, I was also super fortunate that the site head, he is a really really visionary person. So he would ask me So let's not talk about your quality, because I know you've got that. I know that totally. Let's talk about what do you think about how do we do tomorrow? How do we do better on manufacturing? How do we? So he really was a good mentor in that space. He was prompting my brain. And even though it was annoying because it was difficult, I think that was a gift.
Very good. Yeah. So, what are are there any things that you would advise now, looking back, to people going through that transition? What would make that mindset shift easier to manage and quicker to grasp, I suppose?
I think it's first of all super important to rearrange your thinking of when do I perform as a person. You have to sort of delete it, take that and say the way I perform is through my team members.
Yeah.
They are lifting, because if you give them the space, they will grow, and you will then get a whole other you will have now airspace in your own brain to start to take on some of this new challenging stuff, and you still got it because you have these amazing team members and they are growing, and at the same time you can start to also show you are moving. So I think it's the more you can think about it and be conscious about,
Mm.
I know I'm doing well, I know I've got my bases are where they should be, and now I need to, it's a little bit like learning a new exercise where you need to stretch a lot and it hurts a little bit, but it's actually just training you in these new things. So I know it's easier said than done.
Of course, yeah,
And
but
then if
nothing
you
is.
have a mentor, a good
Yeah.
friend, a good friend and a colleague that can constantly prompt you with these annoying questions, even though if you place those questions with that person, but you have someone that's really getting your mindset on, oh, are what have you done today that went outside of your own professional area, that grew your
Mm.
mindset. I think that's the best advice that I can give
Yeah,
anyone.
good. Yeah. That's good. That's really good. So let's talk about now then where you are at. So you're Chief Quality Officer for Fujifilm Diosynth Biologics. So how has that role? How did that role start? I suppose, and how has it evolved into that CQO position?
Yeah, it's so when I was so at the Biogen site that I was head of quality, that site was acquired by Fujifilm Diosynth Biotechnologies back in
Hmm.
2019.
Yeah.
And I was part of that whole journey. It was super super fun. And then I got the opportunity to take an external manufacturing role, so I went to do that for some years.
Hmm.
And then in summer of 23, I reconnected with the CEO of Fujifilm Diosynth Biotechnologies, Lars Pedersen, on potentially coming back and being the Chief Quality Officer. So in 1st of October 23, I returned and took on that super exciting role as part of Lars's executive leadership team. And then I, at the time, was probably making a whole lot of noise about so how do we leverage technical skills, digitalization, how do we really get into AI usage? Because I could see not only how it would increase efficiency, but actually also how I think we will make more robust compliance decisions,
Mm.
quite honestly,
Yeah.
utilizing tech. So I became a little bit too loud speaking, I think, about that. And then last, and of course, people that will know Lars will know why. He said, "Well, it sounds like a good idea. Why don't you take on IT also under your leadership?" So actually combining quality and IT in order to fast forward that journey. yeah, so I've done that now for a little bit over a year, and then I was equally fortunate to also be handed the science space, which I'm still learning, and that's just immensely inspirational, and it gives me so many ideas of how to really fast forward something within our industry so that we make patients their medicine available in faster timeframes.
Yeah,
It's not done overnight, but
of course.
but
Yeah,
that is it's definitely one of the drivers for me. So
yeah,
science, IT, quality in one family is yeah, it's really
yeah.
driving that.
It's exciting.
Super
Yeah.
exciting.
What made you? What do you think Lars saw in you that made him think that you are the best person for this chief quality officer job?
Oh, one of the things that I know Lars is really relying on with me is my way of being a leader. So my leadership style has I'm still holding this with I want every individual to be their true free self that can really push things, make brave decisions, and then give the freedom to actually do it and play with it. And by doing that, my belief and Lars's belief is we will then generate a whole bunch of extra energy together,
Mm,
and make things come to life just quicker. Um,
yeah,
so I know that that's one of the traits that Lars knows about me, and then he also knows because we worked alongside each other for some years before that my way of looking at the quality area is pragmatic, but at the same time I totally know the framework, so there is a limit where we don't go out of, but we can play within this framework. So Lars being a super visionary person,
mm,
he knows that pushing the visions out, he needs someone that's around the table that can both keep him in check, but actually also play along. And so that's I think the two things that he would say.
yeah, yeah. Very good. So, what does your paint a picture of just what your role, like really high level, looks like now in terms of number of your total remit, your number of sites, global sort of geography, and what does your role typically entail?
Yeah, it's so in we have 6 sites, and we are building a seventh site in Japan right now. So that's still a project of getting it up and running as a MAPS single-use biologics site. But the 6 sites are 4 in the US. One that is fully and completely cell therapy. One site that is both MAPS. Middle scale up to 2,000 liters and VGT and vaccines, and then 2 sites that are both located in the RTP area in North Carolina. And then
Yeah,
we have 2 sites in Europe, one in the UK, north of London, and then
yeah,
one in Denmark. And we're actually 4,500 across the world. And then we're also part of a bigger Fuji family that is in the life sciences space. So we have a
mhm,
few sister facilities where I'm also overseeing the quality for those, so that our president Goto is getting the full health picture, you can say, in the quality space for all life sciences across
mm.
Fujifilm.
How? I mean, it's a huge remit. Obviously, global, different time zones, people, different cultures. Just want to touch on, I suppose, have how do you go about managing yourself, organizing your workload across multiple sites, across multiple geographies and time zones, and then you throw in the different cultural elements of different regions and how you communicate with different people differently. Like, has that been a learning curve for you, or did you feel like that was something that you kind of had a good grasp on already? And just, I guess, talk us through like some of the challenges of managing different geographies, cultures, time zones.
Yeah, one of the things that I have come to really appreciate is setting a structure, organizing a structure around you so that you have people that are good at what you're not good at. And I know this is that anyone would say this, but I cannot say enough. I have people very, very close to me, my chief of staff, my EA, the leaders in my team that know my strengths and equally know my weaknesses. So we speak openly about
Yeah,
what is it, where can we help each other. If it wasn't for them, I would be killing myself every day, really. And I say that with no lightness. It's really such a big help for me, what they are doing in terms of structure. My chief of staff is really laying out the grounds of our strategic work, making sure that we are pushing that through, while I'm out here doing a little bit of crazy thinking. So it is really, it takes an army. It's no one person can do this, and
yeah,
I've really come to appreciate that. I think a few years back how big of a difference it makes to look at yourself through real eyes, not painting a picture
mm,
of you can do it all. And then figure out what do you need to have in the team to really make it efficient. So I think I have the greatest team in the world, and I do also not say that lightly. We meet 4 times a year, so actually one of
yeah,
the big challenges is that we are a global team.
yeah,
So we do not meet at the coffee machine. If we are working out of our base, it's normally from home.
hmm,
We are traveling a lot, but not in the same places. So we've made it a priority to meet 4 times a year for a week at the different sites,
yeah,
and then we have a leadership summit, where most of the time we are actually focusing on us as a team.
yeah,
Last week, for example, we met, and we were doing meditation together. We were doing different sorts of exercises just to ground ourselves together with each other. And I can just see it releases so much trust and energy in a global team, that it would be a recommendation from me to everybody. If you have a global team, really, really remember to focus on human being in the team, not so much strategy and tactical things, because you will do that between.
yeah,
But when you meet, then be yourself together.
yeah.
I think, and it will never end, right? I will be learning and get better at this every year. I think so, which I also think makes it super exciting.
But I think it's so important, in, like you say, in this era when you're, well, particularly when you're managing global teams, but when a lot of people are working remotely, working as silos or individually, that nothing will ever replace that human connection of
No,
getting your team together and spending real valuable time together, not talking about the sort of tactical elements, but getting to know each other, building culture, building togetherness, and giving you a chance to, I guess, communicate your vision. Are we on track? What do we need to do? So I think that's great that you do that. I love the whole the idea of getting together and just meditating for that's a great team building activity.
yeah,
I'm
it
sure
is,
that
and I think
seems simple, but I'm sure you got a lot out of it as your team.
it totally, and it, of course, some, with everybody knew what we were doing. Some went into it a little bit hesitant. Okay, what is
Mm,
this?
Yeah, I
Others
can
went
imagine.
into it, all power on. But for everyone during the days, everyone appreciated it, went out of it with a whole new dimension, which I
Mm.
think. So I really believe in being a whole human being is also about spirituality. It's about your body, your mind, your professionalism, and it all comes together in one. You can't split it. So I think I know everyone got an extra dimension to it, and I think we can use that in business. Because if you do that together, you can speak at another level. So some of the misunderstandings, some of the potential conflicts, some of the ways that you are communicating to the teams
Yeah.
around you, it just becomes much more relationship built and deep, which I think, to come back to the beginning of this speak, it's so important to form those relations, to be good in business.
Yeah, I completely agree. What about managing your workload, stress, burnout? You mentioned meditation there.
Mm.
What are some of the things and tactics that you use in your life um, to ensure that you're performing at the best of your ability?
Super, super question, and something that my executive assistant, who I cannot say enough good things about. I was open with her when she joined and said, "You do me a favor when you organize my calendar. Give me at least 1.5 hour during the day so I can go out in daylight." For me, and this I think is an individual thing for people, but for me, seeing daylight, being in the forest, in the nature every day. Now I have a dog, so I'll obviously take the dog with me. Is what grounds me, is really what re energizes me and keeps me sane. And then I'm okay to take late meetings. So for
Mm.
me, that just works super, super well. That I
Yeah.
have this reserved time every day where I do nothing but go out in nature. It's And I can highly I'm so my team will say that I say this all the time to them. Have you been out today? Have you been in daylight? And it's really important for you. And of course, I
Yeah.
can't impose that that's important for everybody, but I
Of
know how
course.
important it is for me. So I try to also be the annoying influence of people around me to do it, because you can easily get, there is work enough for 24 hours a day. And you will
Agreed.
still not get to the bottom of it. So you
Yeah.
have to really be good at self managing,
Yeah.
self reflecting.
I agree. I'm completely the same. So I work US. I'm based in London, obviously, but work US hours generally. So I start my day around 10,
Mm.
11 o'clock in the morning, which gives me the chance to get out in the morning and get sunshine, have a coffee, go to the gym, do whatever. And that just, for me, that works so well. It doesn't work for everyone, but I love having my mornings free to just do whatever I want to do and relax and just sort of switch off a bit and
Yeah,
prepare myself for the day ahead. Um,
but I actually think you should compliment yourself for having figured that out. Just
mm,
being able to see what do I need in terms of things in my life that will keep me energized and balanced, and then go for that. I'm not sure everyone is able to do that. So I think what we can do is to
yeah,
put it out
as the
there.
leader,
Yes,
you have to kind of try and set the example. Not everyone's going to follow it, but if it works for you, it probably will work for other people if they try it.
right.
Obviously, not everyone's going to. You can't enforce that everyone goes for a walk in nature for an
No.
hour and a half. But at the same time, I think it's important that you show that you're doing that as
Yeah,
a leader.
I totally agree. And I also do, one size does not fit all. So if
Yeah,
that's not what rocks your boat,
yeah,
or floats your boat, then do something else. But maybe the first thing is listen to yourself, figure out what are the days where I end the day super happy, energized. And what were the elements in that?
Yeah.
How do I get more of that in? And then, as
Yeah.
you say so right, if I don't do it, it will be difficult for everyone else in the organization to
Yeah.
do it. So yeah,
100%.
and it is a super important thing for me also to keep grounded.
Yeah, very good. I'm conscious of time, but I really want to talk to you quickly just about where quality is going, the future of quality. You've obviously got IT digital in your remit,
Yes.
and this is a huge topic. AI just seems to be accelerating how quickly we can do things, every day.
Yeah,
Um, I feel that the biotech industry is probably a bit behind other industries
I
such
do.
as finance or technology in terms of the adoption of digital technologies and AI. But just, I suppose, from your perspective, where do you see the next sort of 3 to 5 years, I suppose, in terms of how AI and all these different technologies, digital transformation will affect the way that you as an industry perform your work?
Yeah, it's for me. There is no doubt that we have to also put even more speed to AI tech, because I have my ambition for us is to be in front of tomorrow's issue. And by saying that, we are pretty reactive. Let's just face it. We have corrections more than preventions, but we need to push ourselves to be predictive, because what we can do now with tech is all of these data models, everything. If we start to the digital twin, development of digital twin, all of that can give us the foundation to predict things, so we make a successful batch every time, and we see the slightest little change, and then we can readjust before it is a problem. So one of my big pillars for 25 and beyond is predictive, and which is why it makes so much sense for me to also have the IT family so close
Mm,
to me. The other thing that I think we're underestimating, because I agree with you 100%, we are behind, I think, in the
mm,
biotech industry, is we need to start sharing things much more openly. I see us being closed in, oh, we have contracts and confidentiality and all of that. And of course, some things need to be confidential, but it's a minimum.
yeah,
If we can share together, where have I gotten with AI, so someone can build on that and build on that, we will get to the end
yeah,
point much quicker.
yeah. Why is it, do you think, the industry has been a bit slow to sort of adopt these types of technologies?
It's a good question. I think there is an inherent fear to changing, because of the heavy regulatory apparatus that needs to happen. Everyone knows that if you have a molecule and it's approved and you make a change, or you need to reapprove. And I
Yeah,
think that allows us to slow every change down, even though it has nothing to do with any filing prerequisites.
yeah,
So I think it's time to challenge each other now, actually, and say, is it really, do we need to be so afraid of this change?
yeah.
So that we can get rid of the myths around what we can and cannot change. That's my feel. Would you agree? Is that what you're seeing as well?
I agree. Yeah, I think it's again a bit like the strategic shift. It's a mindset shift.
Yeah,
Can you um, what can what principles and technologies or ways of adoption can you take from other industries? Can you bring in people from? And that's why I think it's great that you've got quality and IT in your remit, because you're then in a position where you're managing both functions. So you're in a way you're forced to bring in these new ways of adoption into the quality function.
right.
So it's I think that's a good strategic move from the business to give you that sort of remit, because
Oh,
otherwise
thank
it's
you.
quite. Well, I think it's quite quality is then siloed, isn't it?
It
And
is.
and then if you've got a leader that is actually in charge of the ways of new technologies and how you're adopting them, but you're also in charge of quality, the chances of the collaboration there are greater.
Yeah,
I
yeah, and I
suppose so.
couldn't agree more. And actually, if you were fly on the wall with my leadership team, some of the conversations that are ongoing from our global quality head and our IT, and how they are just really aligning their thoughts and trying to push this forward. It's just really a joy to see.
Yeah. Can you see other organizations, combining that role with quality and IT in the future? Or is that is that a bit too sort of far away from in the future?
So you mean if I could see that for other companies to do
Yeah,
the same?
the wider industry, I suppose. Yeah,
Absolutely. I say this whenever I speak to our partners in the industry and so on. I say you need to do this. It makes even more sense than I had thought when we did it. It is really, I think, the way for us to take that step into the future. So
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Let this be a recommendation to the
Absolutely. There you go. You
yeah.
heard it here first. Yeah. What? Just one more question on this, and then I'm just going to give you one quick fire question to round off the discussion, which has been fascinating. What if there are skills that like quality leaders should be developing now from a technology, digital, AI perspective? Are there any particular skills that you would advise people should be now developing in quickly?
Um, I think absolutely there is something about knowledge on. So typically, you've had IT savvy people doing a lot of programming.
Yeah.
We need to be able to know enough that we can look at the programming and co-create with these super skilled programmers, so that it is because my dream is that we will rely on AI for many things, not even having to have a human step in the future. But for us to do that, we need enough skill set, mindset from a quality perspective to actually have this conversation with the IT programmers, so that we create these tools that can be validated with time. I know we're not there, and of course we need the human interaction until we are there. But once we can get to there, I think we can just release so much human brain to do other things that we are screaming for.
Awesome. May I think this has been a fantastic conversation full of insights
Likewise.
and thanks so much for giving your time. I know you're a busy person. So I normally have a few quick fire questions, but I'm going to ask you one quick fire question just to cap off the discussion. So I'm going to put you on the spot a bit, but if you were to, I suppose in one sentence, what does impact mean to you as a quality leader?
What does impact mean to me? Impact means to me going into the organization with a full people trust mindset, that you everyone, if you see the logic and you get the freedom, you will make the right decision, and that will then in turn drive us to the goal even faster. So I think that's it wasn't one sentence. I'm very sorry.
That's fine. I'll give you that. It's a tough one to describe in one sentence, but I think that's a great way to put it. Maya, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a great way to kick off the season.
No, it was an absolute pleasure and also an honor. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about it. And thank you for really good questions as always.
Oh, my pleasure. If people want to reach out to you, and I'm sure that you'll probably have lots of people reaching out to you. Is LinkedIn generally the best way
Yes.
to contact you?
Yeah, for
Fine.
sure, for
Okay.
sure. And
Well, look,
give me just have a little patience. Sometimes depending on my travel and so on, but I will get back to you. So absolutely, LinkedIn is the best.
thanks, Maya. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's show. I hope that you got value from it, whether you're starting your career in quality or if you're at the top of your field. Today's episode was brought to you by RX Group. I'm the founder of RX Group. We are a pharma and biotech recruitment organization focusing purely on quality assurance. We recruit consultants and senior level permanent quality professionals into the pharma and biotech industry. If we can support you, whether that be in a hiring capacity or if you yourself are looking for work, please get in touch with me on LinkedIn, visit our LinkedIn page where you can subscribe to the podcast, and visit our website www.rx-group.io to find out more about us. See you soon.